What's up, people? I am back for another video. We're here to this is basically kind of like a return of the random review, which I will probably be doing next week too. I just got to figure out. Probably the random review next week will probably be. I'm leaning towards Deep Blue Sea since I did Jaws not too long ago, so the only other shark movie I would say is good. But that's next week. So this week since I decided not to watch Black Widow because I had no interest because she's dead, and I just hearing how bad it was or really mediocre. It made me like think of, you know what? I'm gonna watch a better female assassin movie, and one I watched when I was much younger. This movie called Long Kiss Goodnight with Gina Davis and Sam Jackson, and it's a really good movie. Rewatching it, I forgot how good it was. It was a very fun action movie. Really good cast too. You know, Brian Cox. The bad guy was a little generic, but he was all right. I'm trying to remember his name. I think his name is Timothy. He's like the main bad guy of the movie. He was all right. I don't think he was like amazing or anything, but he was all right. And the the premise of the film is this woman named. So it starts off like her name's Samantha Kane. She has amnesia, but the main point is 8 years ago she was murdered by her fellow, and she was an assassin for the government, but she was murdered or thought to be murdered by her colleague. So for 8 years, and then everything after a car accident, her mind she starts kind of getting her skills back, and then throughout the film, and that's basically she's a spy, or not a spy, she's an assassin, but yeah. So it's a really well done film, and it just because also that because tomorrow one of my videos tomorrow is going to be going on about the problem with modern female characters, and then watching this, it's just like this is actually a good character. I'm like, feminists want you to believe that there weren't strong women before 2019, or 2021. It's so weird. But you get characters like this who are well written, who are actually vulnerable, who aren't inherently good at it. And even if she is trained, she has to still get help. So it starts off with Samantha Cade, who's a teacher. She starts off as this like normal, average, everyday woman. She's a teacher. She's in a relationship with her boyfriend. Has a daughter, and the premise is she was found 8 years ago on the beach, pregnant with her daughter, and she has amnesia. And throughout the film, we just we find Mitch Hennessy, played by Sam Jackson, really like it starts off like that's the thing with this film. It starts off relatively normal. Then she gets into a car accident, which kind of almost jogs her memory, and throughout the film, you kind of see her other side, which is her actual name, which is Charlie. So throughout the film, and then slowly, like she's starting to gain some skill back. Like she's really good with like one night she's cooking dinner and she's cutting carrots, and she starts cutting them like really fast, and it turns out she's actually really good with a knife. And on the TV, because there's a scene where she did a fair earlier. One Eye Jack, I think that's what the guy's name is. He is the guy who helped quote unquote kill her before, and that's her backstory. Charlie was an assassin who worked for the government, and they turned on her, and her partner Timothy turned on her and basically tried to have her killed, and he thought she was dead for 8 years, but it turns out she isn't. So he sends One-Eyed Jack to try to kill her again, and you get this scene where he breaks in, and the thing is too, if this was written now, she would have just beasted him right there, even though she still supposedly had amnesia. But in this film, they actually have her like she has to use like elements. She's not just beasting through motherfuckers. Like she's not like fucking Batman, like just fist fighting everybody. So but she ends up taking him out by like snapping his neck, and it does kind of kick in, and it takes a little bit. She has to use like a weapon against him first initially. It's not just like She just beats him. Then she leaves with Mitchell, with Mitch. So it's just Mitch, with Mitch, and then with her suitcase, and her suitcase contains a sniper and a note directing them to Doctor Nathan, played by Brian Cox, who you may know from X2. He was Stryker in that. So you have a little bit of. I actually think Gina Davis and Sam have really good chemistry in this film. You know, they start off kind of adversarial to each other, and she well, this is another scene where she gets a little bit of her skills. She realized what's also in her suitcase is a sniper, and she starts quick building it, and she accidentally shoots it at Mitch, and he almost leaves, but he decides to stay because of the money. Then they go to the train station, and then this is where we get a cool action scene, and this is where Mitch introduces himself as a someone else. Then you have a quick little shootout where they're getting chased at the train station, but they get saved by Nathan. But Mitch and Samantha still don't trust Mitch, so they end up kind of beating him up and running away. And then this is where they meet up with another quote unquote source named Luke, who actually he's in a lot of stuff. I think he was in like Doctor Who. He's in a lot of like British kind of stuff. But he was decent in this movie. His character is he's supposed to be like her fiance. It turns out that Luke is actually Charlie's target, but then Luke ends up killing the doctor, and also getting because this is where Timothy and his crew show up. They torture her for a little bit. It was really well done scene because she still doesn't fully know what's going on, and then the last time she gets drowned is when this is where she realizes what happened to her, where she was almost killed. Um, and so they end up also setting up another bomb attack. Sorry about this fucking fly. Sorry. Um, fucking. So she ends up breaking out, and this is where she's back to being Charlie. And I actually think Gina Davis did a really good job at almost playing two people, because Samantha Cain's a completely different character than Charlie. Charlie smokes cigarettes. She's not a teacher, obviously. She's much more like sexual, and obviously she's a trained assassin. So she ends up saving Mitch. So they end up escaping. And it turns out that the whole Samantha Cain was a plan created by Charlie to it was a cover. And Timothy's plan is he wants to get more funding for the CIA, so he's gonna basically stage a fake bomb. Then then you have a little bit of a funny interaction where she tries to hook up with Mitch, but Mitch turns her down, so she runs off outside, and then she's getting followed by Timothy's people, but she ends up killing them, and they have a quick shootout. Then their plan is to try to get close to fucking Timothy because he wants to kill him. She wants to kill him. She wants revenge. So they try to break in, and she also throughout the film is because once she is Charlie, she doesn't want the kid anymore, and she was almost gonna kill the kid and the boyfriend because she knows they knew too much. So, but they didn't do it. She hesitated not to do it. So they end up trying to go to Timothy, but they end up getting captured, and basically they lock Charlie and her kid in the meat locker, and they have Mitch tied up. But they end up escaping because they detonated the barrels with kerosene, and she ends up bailing Mitch out. and then basically we kind of have a shootout, and they manage to because the daughter ends up almost getting kidnapped again because she gets locked in the truck with the bomb. They manage to get her out, but it seemingly looks like and then yeah, we get a quick fight between her and Timothy. Timothy manages to escape and gets into a helicopter, tries to kill her, and she's already like hurt. So they make it seem like, oh, is she gonna die? But she doesn't. And Mitch, who ended up getting shot earlier in the shootout, seemingly he thought because he tried to save the daughter too, but he ends up getting shot. But we thought, was he dead? But it turns out it's not, and he ends up bailing her out, and she ends up killing Timothy by sniping him out of the air, and he falls onto the truck, and boom, he gets blown up. And then the film kind of closes where she's back as Samantha Kane with her husband and her kid, and that's kind of it. And then Mitch gets to go on Larry King. And you know what? This is how you do a movie. Like, it's just a simple movie, not over the top. The score was decent. It came out in 1996. It was very, like I said, not too much. It was just, and this is how you do strong female characters. Like, there's one scene where she does flip a dude, but she's not just like, because this is the problem with Hollywood now. And I guess I'll give you a little quick preview of my video tomorrow. The problem with a lot of female characters now is especially if they pick smaller chicks, at least if you're gonna get a chick who's gonna be punching through dudes bigger than, at least get it like a Gina Carano or someone believable. But if you're gonna get a smaller chick, she should just be shooting. So, but that's the problem, and that's what she does in this. Because Gina Davis isn't really jacked in this. Yeah, she's trained, but she's still relatively like a regular woman. But she wasn't just beasting through the dude. She has a gun, so she's like, I'll just shoot you. And I think that's how you should do it with smaller chicks who are not as big or jacked. Yeah, why not just have them use a gun? At the end of the day, a gun's an equalizer. It doesn't matter the height. And then this film also had a competent male character with Mitch. Yeah, he's a bit of a fuck up. Because there's like one scene where he failed doing something, but he's not. Because that's why he was so desperate to try to save her daughter, because he fucked up earlier in the film. And I think that's the thing with this. You can have fuck ups, but you gotta also have rebuild. And I think on both ends they do that. Charlie's a flawed character. Yeah, she's military trained and she's a government assassin, but she also, she had to inevitably realize this is my daughter, even if it was she used a different name and all that. It's like, but that's what Hollywood's missing now. But I don't want to make this just a rant about that because I'll do that tomorrow. But yeah, this movie's great. It's just a fun action film. Timothy is a bit over the top, and I don't buy him as a leader in a group as like the main bad guy, but I think he works for this film, And this is how you do a Black Widow movie. Like, honestly, minus like you take out the whole mind like erase thing in the beginning where she doesn't know who she is. You just take that part of it. This is how you should do a Black Widow movie. Like, you should. Another film I was actually considering watching, I probably will still watch, is Point of No Return, where it's this girl who was thought to have done a murder, and they fake her death, and then they make her an agent. And in the film, she's wearing like dresses to get. That's what Black Widow. Realistically, that is what Black Widow should have been. It's her on missions and stuff like that. But now that's not what we get. But this is the better assassin movie. Just watch this movie, guys. This is it's really underrated because this is one I don't feel like a lot of people talk about. It's one of Sam Jackson's decent roles. It's just not as iconic as, obviously now Nick Fury or Mace Windu or, Pulp Fiction. It's not as iconic as those roles, but I really would say he was really good in this movie. I think everybody was. And Gina Davis, which is who's a really good actress. This is the one film I think I really remember her, and I think I may have seen her in something else. But I do think, but other than that, sorry about the fucking flies. Anyway, take one more hit. This film I would give like a 10 out of 10, probably. Maybe not a 10 out of 10, like a 9. Would definitely watch again. Tomorrow. One video will be about the problem with humor in movies, and another video will be the problem with modern female characters. So there will be 2 videos. Will be my 2 videos tomorrow. But other than that, this movie's really good. Fuck Warner Brothers. Fuck Disney. Fuck bitch ass James Mangold. Fuck OneRing.net. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.